The other one, a little better known, nominated for an Oscar in Best Documentary Film category, is called Faces, Places, directed by Agnes Varda, who is one of the great living filmmakers. She's now, I think, in her 90th year. She was really the only woman in the boys' club of the French New Wave, and a great filmmaker. And she's made, in the last few years, she's in the course of her career, she's made fictional features and documentaries. She's worked in France. She's lived in California for a long time. But she's taken to making these personal documentaries, sort of essay films, almost memoirs, in which she herself, with her really, she has some of the most remarkable hair in movies. It's like 5 different colors. It's sort of little bowl cut. She's maybe now probably, you know, maybe 5 feet tall in heels. And she just kind of moves through the world collecting things and people and, as this movie suggests, faces and places. And she's accompanied in this film by a young artist known as J.R., who takes large format photographs that he then puts up in public places. You've probably seen some of them on walls and on the sides of buildings. And they go around the French countryside, mostly to industrial towns that are kind of emptying out and falling apart, in steel factory towns, old ports, the whole coal mining region in northeastern France. And they have this little wagon with them so that he can process the images, and he takes these pictures and then blows them up, you know, to enormous scale, and puts them on the walls in the places where the people live. So these, and they're mostly older people, so these old, you know, retired coal miners are, their images, their faces are arrayed along the walls of the housing that had been built in the 19th century for coal miners. And this movie is it's very simple. It doesn't make a big deal out of anything that it's doing, but I found it, the first time I saw it, and every time I've seen it since, just endlessly moving and fascinating. And I think one of the reasons is that when you see these faces of ordinary people blown up to that scale, it's like watching movies in an old movie palace. If you think about, you know, going to the movies, you're seeing the human face, you know, 3 stories high. You're seeing, and a lot of times you're seeing, you know, movie stars' faces, which are wonderful to look at and have their own kind of magic and glamour. But there is something very profound and very powerful about taking ordinary human reality, the human faces that we see around us every day, that we see in the mirror, and elevating them to the scale of the sublime, that has, I think, what can only be called a kind of spiritual power. And so I would suggest in closing that if we want to hold on to some of that power, if we want to be able to perceive what's at the other side of the spiritual lens through the cameras and the screens that surround us in our everyday secular lives, we could start by thinking about what it is that these 2 movies that I've just described, and other movies too, are capable of doing, which is to bring the dead back to life and to consecrate an image of the human face. Thank you.